If we allow unbridled imports to continue, it will dominate our trade.
Federal government sets new agenda on improving manufacturing in Nigeria and Africa.
I set a target for our country to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years.
Newly sworn in chairman and commissioners for Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission charged to block revenue leakages. Government records more successes in security operations. Bandits and insurgents degraded. And flood wreaks havoc disaster in Jigawa state. Hello there, thanks for joining us on NTN Network News tonight. I am Joseph Johnson. President Muhammadu Buhari says for the African continent free trade area agreement to succeed, Africa must have a manufacturing agenda that not only promotes production and job opportunities, but also guarantees free movement of made-in-Africa goods. This was while receiving the report of the Presidential Technical Committee set up to assess the impact and readiness for the Africa Continental Free Trade Area as Agreement Assessment. State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports.
Our position is very simple. We support free trade as long as it's fair and conducted on an equitable basis.
As Africa's largest economy and most populous country, President Muhammadu Buhari said Nigeria cannot afford to rush into such agreements without full and proper consultation with relevant stakeholders. He, however, stated unequivocally that trade is important to the country.
Africa, therefore, needs not only a trade policy, but also a continental manufacturing agenda. Our vision for intra-African trade is for the free movement of made-in-Africa goods. That is, goods and services made locally with dominant African content in terms of raw materials and value addition. If we allow unbridled imports to continue, it will dominate our trade. The implication of this is that coastal importing nations will prosper while landlocked nations will continue to suffer and depend on aid.
The president attributed the nation's fundamental challenges of security, economy and corruption to the inability of the country over the years to domesticate the production of the most basic requirements and create jobs for the vibrant, young and dynamic population.
The African Continental Free Trade Area we aspire to have should therefore not only create wealth for investors, but also jobs and prosperity for our vibrant and hardworking citizens. The benefits of economic growth must be prosperity for the masses. Henceforth, we shall ensure that our negotiated agreements create business opportunities for Africa's manufacturers, service providers, and innovators.
President Buhari assured the committee that the report will form part of the consideration in Nigeria's decision on the next steps regarding the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, as well as broader trade integration subjects. The chairman, Technical Work Group, Mr. Desmond Gobadia, said the committee, which reviewed over 200 submissions, found out that 85% of Africa's total trade come from countries outside the continent.
The AfCFTA, therefore, provides immense opportunities for Nigeria's manufacturing and service companies to expand to Africa. Today, many Nigerian companies have developed capacity in some of these sectors and have long desired to expand to Africa, but have been constrained by trade barriers which AfCFTA is expected to remove.
The report, however, identified potential rise in smuggling as well as abuse of rules of origin as some of the major risks and undesirable impacts of the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, complicated by lack of capacity, resources, and will on the part of some African countries to enforce their borders.
Our report shows that on the balance, Nigeria should consider joining the AFCFTA and using the opportunity of the ongoing AFCFTA Phase 1 negotiations to secure the necessary safeguards required to ensure that our domestic policies and programs are not compromised.
The committee suggested that in view of the potential impact of predatory trade on the nation's economy, Nigeria should consider the mobilization of ECOWAS and AU member countries to enforce the necessary safeguards. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission has been tasked to not only expand the nation's revenue sources and block its leakages, but also ensure that the three arms and tiers of government are treated fairly and justly. President Muhammadu Buhari threw the challenge while swearing in the new chairman and commissioners of the critical organization for Nigeria's economy. State House correspondent Adam Sambar again reports.
I will discharge my duties to the best of my ability.
Former Minister of State for Finance and one-time chairman of the commission, Chief Elias Mbam from Ebonyi State, returned as a new helmsman for another term of office. 29 others also took oath of office as commissioners representing the various states of the Federation. Their appointment, President Muhammadu Buhari said, was based on proven track records of hard work and integrity, hence the expectation of government that they will set to work in a business-like manner, rapidly and systematically in the execution of their mandate. He said all relevant laws and regulations on revenue collections and remittances must be applied towards boosting government's revenue sources as well as blocking leakages.
I therefore use this medium to call on the National Assembly to enact relevant and enabling laws that shall guarantee the Commission the legal ability to ensure that defaulters of revenue laws are appropriately sanctioned.
President Buhari restated federal government's commitment towards transforming the country and liberating poor Nigerians from the shackles of poverty by integrating rural economies to the national economic grid.
I set a target for our country to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. This commitment is to further challenge the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission to rise to its constitutional responsibilities and mandate.
Chairman of the Commission, Elias Mbam, on behalf of the commissioners, thanked the President for finding them worthy of serving the nation and promised to do whatever it takes towards justifying the trust and confidence reposed in them.
It was very clear in the address that we should deliver on our mandate. And I think we do just that. We concentrate more effort on how to increase the size of the cake for allocation to the 3 tiers of government instead of struggling to share a shrinking cake. So the Commission will key into the diversification program of the federal government with a view to finding other sources of revenue that will increase the sources to the Federation account.
With the charge that the President has given us, we hope to look for ways and manners whereby leakages can be cut short within the revenue that accrue to the nation, and also other areas whereby we can bring in more revenues for the development of Nigeria.
What I'll bring on board is team effect, working with the chairman and other members to deliver on our mandate. And from the speech of Mr. President this afternoon, he has given a charge based on our constitutional mandate and duties. And that is where the focus will be. And I can assure you we will deliver.
The Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission has a constitutional mandate to, amongst others, monitor accruals to and disbursement of revenue from the Federation account, review the nation's revenue allocation formula, as well as determine remunerations appropriate for political and public office holders. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In the meantime, Chairman ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government President Muhammadu Buhari has strongly condemned the recent coup attempt in the Amhara region and capital of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. In a statement, President Buhari expressed deep sympathy and condolences to the families of victims of the attempted coup. The President reaffirmed the imperative for the adherence to relevant African Union instruments, particularly the Constitutive Act of the African Union and the Lomé Declaration on the unconstitutional change of government. President Buhari also enjoins all to remain committed to the ideals of the African Union on democratic elections and good governance adopted at the 8th Ordinary Session of Assembly of Heads of State in Addis Ababa in 2007. He urges all concerned to exercise maximum restraint and avoid any action that could undermine the peace, unity and stability of Ethiopia. Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and his American counterpart Mike Pence held discussions in the White House, with both leaders affirming the mutual benefit inherent in a deeper bilateral relationship between both countries. A statement by Laolu Akonde, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Office of the Vice President, indicates that at the meeting, the two leaders who discussed economy, military assistance and other issues affirmed the need for continuous observation of the rule of law, while also noting Nigeria's pride of place on the African continent and America's reputed global leadership. They expressed commitment to continue negotiating for the release of Leah Sharibu and the remaining abducted Chibok girls. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has since returned to Abuja. The Nigerian Air Force has launched Operation Green Sweep 2 against terrorist elements in the northeastern part of the country. NAF Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, says the operation, which commenced on 26 June 2019 through the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole, targets selected locations within the northeast in order to further degrade the remnants of the terrorists, as well as deny them safe havens and freedom of action. The first attack has so far resulted in the obliteration of an Islamic State of West Africa province tactical headquarters and neutralization of several terrorists at Kolaram in northern Borno State, and was executed following series of intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance missions that showed accurate location of ISWAP's fighters along the communication facilities. Still talking security matters, troops of Operation Hadarin Daji have rescued 49 kidnapped persons, neutralized 15 bandits and arrested 20 others in Zamfara State. The force commander, Major General Jide Ogunlade, said this at a press conference in Gusau. Jamilu Ibrahim has more.
The nomenclature of the ongoing special military operations in Zamfara State was recently changed from Operation Sharandaji to that of Hadarandaji to effectively consolidate on the gains so far recorded by the operation. The Nigerian Army says the reorganization has started yielding the desired results. Force commander of the operation highlights the major achievements recorded by the troops within the past few days, which include rescue of 49 kidnapped persons, recovery of more than 2,000 Rasul cattle, neutralization of 15 suspected bandits and arrest of 20 others. Other significant success recorded by the troops within the period with the interception of some trucks loaded with food items and logistics being transported to the armed bandits in the bush. The force commander, who advised the bandits to urgently embrace dialogue or face the full wrath of the operation, says the theater is being reorganized to meet up with the changing trends and the activities of the armed bandits.
If they want peace, let them show sign or indicate that they want peace. The only way or the only sign that they want peace is for them to cease fire and then approach us to drop their arms. Anything other than that is not acceptable.
Weapons recovered by the troops include 11 AK-47 rifles, 40 locally made guns, and more than 2,400 rounds of ammunition, motorcycles, among others. In Gusau, Jamilu Ibrahim, NTA News.
Let's turn to the judiciary now, because Nigeria has been commended for its commitment to the growth of justice and peace, both at its local level and on the international stage. President of the International Criminal Court gave the commendation in Abuja during a visit to the FCT High Court. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okewu reports.
Chile Ebue Osuji, a Nigerian, became president of the International Criminal Court with headquarters in The Hague on the 11th of March 2018. He is in Nigeria as part of ICC's program of strengthening the various judicial arms of its 122 member nations. And he says Nigeria gives the International Criminal Court a measure of comfort based on her commitment to a strong judiciary. He singled out President Muhammadu Buhari in this direction.
Nigeria has been strongly supportive of the ICC. President Buhari's government has not minced words by saying that Nigeria stands firmly behind the ICC.
He, however, warned that no nation's democracy can grow without a strong and independent judiciary. The ICC president's visit to Nigeria takes him first to the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, where he commended the integration of alternative dispute resolution mechanisms into the civil justice system. Chief Judge of the FCT High Court, Justice Ishaq Bello, said that the ICC president's visit will further boost the credibility of the Nigerian judiciary in general.
This jurisdiction has never been dragged into the public domain in any negative form, because we are very, very cautious and careful about that.
This is Justice Ebue Osuji's first official visit to Nigeria since becoming president of the International Criminal Court about 2 years ago. And he expects such interactions to continue, not so much because Nigeria is his home country, but because of Nigeria's positive role on the African continent. From the FCT High Court, Femi Okewu, NTA News.
A new transformer expected to boost electricity by about 150 megavolt ampere by the Buhari administration for Kano will be ready for inauguration in the next 1 month. Elizabeth Ila Lamido reports that the initiative aims at stimulating commercial and industrial activities.
The project, which was sited at Kumbozo Transmission Station, is designed to increase power supply to Kano and some neighboring states. The project, which began early this year, is progressing steadily to ensure its completion on schedule.
In the next 3 spokes, I assure the people of this environment they will end up having uninterrupted power supply. And the industry will have a sufficient power supply.
When completed, Kumbozo Transmission Station has the capacity of 600 MVA transformers and will significantly improve power supply in Kano and some parts of Jigawa, Bauchi and Katsina states, as well as some parts of Niger Republic.
This expansion is going on concurrently at Katsina, at various places.
This project, when fully operational, will bring about stable power supply and will help return Kano to its status as the industrial nerve center of northern Nigeria. From Kano, Elizabeth Yilalamido, NTA News.
Time for some messages. We will be back shortly. You're still watching NTN Network News with me, Joseph Johnson. The Nigerian government has disclaimed a report by a group parading itself as Northern Christian elders, falsely alleging that the President Muhammadu Buhari administration is practicing bigotry and alienating Christians. In a statement signed by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, the government dismissed as inconceivable and outright false allusions to the effect that the Boko Haram served as a government agenda against Christians, while stating that the security of all Nigerians, whatever their faith, is a priority of the Buhari government. The government advised the British Parliamentary Association to dismiss the claims by the group, emphasizing that government knows that Nigeria can only achieve its potential if there is religious tolerance and cooperation. Labour is to ignite political consciousness to propel workers to contribute their quota to nation building. This call dominated discussions in Abuja at the 11th Triennial Delegates Conference of the Trade Union Congress, expected to produce new leadership that will pilot the affairs of the Congress for another 3 years. Emmanuel Ayemeru tells us more.
Prior to Nigeria's independence in 1960, the organized labor was known for its contributions to national politics through the involvement of labor in the struggle for independence. Today, that political consciousness is gradually dying among workers. The Triennial Delegate Conference of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria wants professionals to participate in politics by bringing their expertise and experiences to bear on the nation and not leave the game to politicians alone.
We must reconnect, because the issue of development and democracy are so linked together that you cannot change policy if you are not even within the system.
All Nigerian workers to collaborate with the federal government to fight corruption to a standstill.
Consider my service as president of the Congress as another level of school. What I have learned so far has further shaped my thought and perception to issues.
Joining labor to canvass for a joint effort towards nation building, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, says the conference is coming at a time when Nigeria needs every sector to grow the economy, which does not exclude labor unions.
We will, over the next 10 years, create at least 10 million jobs yearly in order to boost our economy and make life better for our people.
Anytime from now, new leaders will emerge from the conference. Emmanuel Ayemeru, NTA News.
A bit on security matters again. Nigeria security agencies have continued to perfect strategies to equip personnel to face emerging security challenges. To this end, the Institute of Security Studies has been upgraded to the National Institute of Security Studies to enable it to excel in training security professionals. Najatu Tijani reports.
Experts agree that Nigeria requires constant research into trends and patterns of crimes and other security challenges threatening the country. The Institute of Security Studies has been responding to such by not only researching but also setting standards for security personnel to keep up with global trends.
And enhance training for middle and top level managers of security in order to advance best practices in conflict prevention, mitigation, and resolution. It is also to contribute uniquely and viably to the promotion of inter-service, interagency, and international cooperation, collaboration, and harmony among intelligence, security, and law enforcement agencies locally and globally.
This is by virtue of the National Institute for Security Studies Establishment Act 2019, expanding the powers of the Institute to focus on terrorism, espionage, subversion, and other threats to national security. Key players in security say the elevation of this institute to national status has myriad implications for security in Nigeria, especially with global emphasis on counterinsurgency and terrorism. Najatu Tijani, NTA News.
People of Baranda village in Duse government area of Duse are witnessing this rainy season with devastating effect as flood washed away hundreds of their farmlands after a heavy downpour Wednesday night. Habibu Husseini, who visited the area, reports that people remained stranded along the new road linking two local government areas that has been cut off by the flood.
Farmlands used for cultivation of rice, wheat, millet, sesame, groundnut and sorghum were submerged by water. The water, which covers over 10 kilometers, destroyed some Fulani hamlets and cut off the new access road linking Duse, the state capital, and Burnunkudu area. The village head of the area, Malam Idris Galadima Baranda, said for decades they have never witnessed such a devastating experience, appealing to government and all the relevant agencies to come to their aid. A team of state government officials led by the Secretary to the State Government, Adamu Abdulkadir Panini, were on assessment visit to the area.
The government will definitely come with its own assistance to the people, and then thereafter we'll make our case to the federal government, and by the grace of God, I'm sure the federal government will also assist the people.
This flood is just for today, and we are going to try and inform the villages along the way that they should be prepared for the flood so that they can do whatever they will do to prevent themselves from being affected by the flood.
Jigawa was among the states that experienced flood last year, with about 19 local government areas affected. From Dutse, Habib Hussein, NTA News.
The Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency says climate change and indiscriminate human activities are responsible for the challenges of flooding confronting the nation. Director General of the agency, Clement Nze, says 74 local government areas in the country are at high risk going by 2019 flood prediction. Kingsley Amajiri reports.
279 local government areas are flood-prone going by the agency's prediction for 2019. 12 local government areas in Rivers State are among the flood risk areas. The gathering of stakeholders in Port Harcourt is to review study on the flood-prone areas, mapping of the hydrological area 5, and in turn raise awareness on necessary measures to adopt.
This goes across about 30 states in Nigeria. The implication is that once we enter June, then July, August, September, anything could happen. That's the peak of rain season in Nigeria.
It took about 44 years after the reported 1968 flood disaster for another occurrence in 2012. Since after the 2012 incident, flood disaster in Nigeria has become a recurrent phenomenon. Experts say about 80% of the causative factors are traceable to human activities, calling on the government and the residents alongside key stakeholders to embark on behavioral changes.
There's a lot of human activity that is blocking the channels.
The organizers want residents to keep their drainages clean, move away from the riverbanks, take heed to all flood warnings and alerts, among other measures to stay safe. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
Away from flood issues to politics now, 2,970 women went to the polls to seek elective position in 2019 elections. 67 women were elected. Where did they miss the line, and what should women do to be more successful in coming elections? Now, these are some of the questions the National Conference on Women's Participation in Politics seeks to find answers to. Basi Taikbang reports that the forum is also to strategize for 2023 general elections.
Shows that for the first time in Nigeria, 2,970 women stood in 2019 elections. Regrettably, women say the outcome of the election was very disappointing, as only 4.5% of these women were elected. This is the reason for this national conference.
So we are going to look at the activities of INEC, the civil society, the media, political parties, all the stakeholders, and to see what they didn't do to support women.
And it's really important that we do it now, because the memory and the experiences are still fresh. What worked, what didn't work, and what should be done differently.
The wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, who was represented, said she is negotiating with Nigerian leaders to allocate a quota to women where they can contest with themselves, and a woman is sure to emerge a winner.
She is a voice that has been crying out to see that women take their rightful place.
Call it a stock-taking moment. You won't be wrong. As the women took time to x-ray themselves, told themselves the truth, as well as strategize for 2023 elections.
But I'm going to call on women not to relent. We need our quota in the government.
The downward trend of women in elective and appointed positions in the country, speakers say, is a cause of concern, with hopes of getting there someday and very soon. Basi Taikbang, NTA News.
Women stepping up their acts there in politics. Now, every nation, great nation, I should say, there is an engineer. This phrase was recently re-echoed as 40 engineers were conferred as fellows of the Nigerian Society of Engineers at the 11th Fellowship Conferment Lecture and Ceremony in Abuja. Ruth Agwele reports that engineers were tasked to key into the federal government's drive to standardize the profession.
It's 6:20 a.m. Engineer Deji Dada is just resuming his morning shift at his place of work with the Nigerian Television Authority. According to him, his passion and commitment to the job is his own quarter to nation building for the past 12 years as an engineer. But like every other career-minded individual, he has big dreams.
I aspire to reach the peak of my profession as a fellow engineer. It requires a lot of commitment, dedication, and passion for the job.
While Engineer Dada is still nurturing his ambition, this set of engineers climbed up the ladder to the peak of their career to be conferred as fellows of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, as they have proven their competence and capability to their profession.
I congratulate all the fellowship honorees today for your hard work, dedication to professional practice, and the values you have brought to the development of Nigeria.
It's another responsibility in the sense that I have to be meticulous. I have to stand by what I feel is good and for the upliftment of the engineering in Nigeria.
And what I would say to the young women and the engineers out there is to believe in yourself, because you are the only one that can define yourself. Nobody can define you.
It is a new dawn for these 40 new fellows, and the expectation from them is to be the guiding light to reflect the theme of this year's conferment: engineering, professionalism, and nation building. In Abuja, Ruth Agwele, NT News.
It's time to go to Lagos for more reports with Hingunu John Adams.
Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila says some existing laws of the National Assembly will be reviewed for regulatory functions to boost enterprise and reform corporate taxations. He disclosed this at the 13th Annual Business Law Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law in Lagos. Vera Chimoba reports that the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, also revealed his plans for rapid development and growth of Lagos State.
The Speaker of House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, who acknowledged federal government's readiness to address challenges and fulfill campaign promises to Nigerians, said the National Assembly will create a working group on investment and legislature.
Our job in government, particularly in the legislature, is to use the instruments of legislation and policy to create a more enabling environment, to use the appropriations process to make investments in critical infrastructure and ensure that in the capital expenditure, priority is given to projects.
Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu said his administration will promote investment that will generate employment for Lagos residents.
It's a statement of our commitment to build a smart and modern economy that is private sector driven.
Some NDA members spoke on the conference.
Lawyers can proffer solutions. Implementation or execution is mainly that of government.
The large infrastructure gap we have in this country can only be addressed when we have sufficient inflow of foreign direct investment as well as portfolio investment.
So in terms of advice, in terms of encouragement, in terms of support, we will give it 100%. What we push them, the politicians, to do is to develop the political will to make it happen.
In Lagos, Vera Chumuba, NTA News.
Stakeholders of Total Nigeria PLC are smiling to the banks. This follows the company's declaration of 14 Naira dividend per ordinary share of 50 kobo each. Annie Daniels reports that this was disclosed at the company's 41st annual general meeting in Lagos.
Chairman, Total Nigeria PLC, declaring the day's event open. The expression on their faces and their applause say it all. They are shareholders of Total Nigeria PLC and are already counting their profits, as demonstrated by a unanimous acceptance of Total's 14 naira dividend per share of 50 kobo each for the year ended December 31st, 2018.
They are investors friendly. I will encourage them to continue.
Total Nigeria PLC result at a glance for the year under review puts the revenue at over 307 billion naira, representing 7%, while profit before tax stood at over 12 billion naira, representing 3%, and profit after tax is put at over 7 billion naira, while shareholders' funds is put at over 30 billion naira, representing 9%.
And this is thanks to our esteemed clients, to our vibrant human capital, and to our strong brand and our strong commitment to operational excellence.
We will do better in this year 2019 with the support of our customers, shareholders and other stakeholders.
Total Nigeria PLC was incorporated in 1956 and was listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange in 1976. The company is a pace-setter in the downstream sector of the Nigerian oil and gas industry. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Nestle Nigeria PLC, the producer of Milo beverages, says the company is ever committed to the development of the youth in all ramifications. The company affirmed this during the draws for the 21st edition of the Milo Basketball Championship held in Lagos. Olumide Eguntola reports.
The state preliminaries and finals, including the regional conferences of the 21st edition of Milo Secondary Schools Basketball Championship are over. Attention is now shifted to the national finals at the Indoor Sports Hall of the National Stadium in Lagos. At the draws for the tournament, defending champion St. Jude's Girls Secondary School Amarata Yenegoa was drawn in Group A alongside government secondary schools Boko and Numa. Dom Domingos College Warri topped the list in Group B. For the male category, Father O'Connor Science College Mina topped the list in Group A, while King's International College Ibadan will face Brilliant College Port Harcourt and General Murtala Mohammed College Yola. In Group B, the best two teams from each group will compete for the coveted championship trophy, cash prizes and other packages from Nestle Nigerian PLC on the 4th July 2019. Dignitaries and stakeholders reflected on the gains of the championship.
Milo continues to be the energy food drink of future champions. We have done this for 21 years. We are committed to continuing to do this. We are every day unveiling new talents for Nigeria. And a number of our players have gone to play for the female basketball team as well as the male basketball team.
We're already having a benefit of that, of what Milo started 21 years ago, on our games, locally, internationally.
Most of the product of Milo now, we have them in America, we have them in England, we have them all over the world now, undergoing training. When these products are polished and they are back to the country, Nigeria will reign higher in basketball.
Nigeria is able to develop younger players to replace those aging ones because of Milo.
The Milo Basketball Championship brings together about 10,000 schools every year. In Lagos, Olumide Eguntola, NTA News.
This is NTA Network News. More reports after this commercial break. Please stay tuned.
The Federation Account Allocation Committee meeting has disbursed the sum of 679.699 billion naira to the three tiers of government as revenue allocation for this month. This was the outcome of the committee's meeting in Kano. Muhammad Rabiu Ali reports that the gross statutory revenue and the value-added tax are higher than the previous month.
Total statutory allocation stood at 571.731 billion naira compared to the previous month of 518.916 billion naira with variance of 52.815 billion naira. While net distribution to federal, state and local government councils was 549.506 billion naira against 501.182 billion naira of previous months. The value-added tax growth for the month of May was 106.826 billion naira as against 96.486 billion naira distributed in the preceding month.
The figures of revenue and the figures of exchange gain as distributed compared to previous months has resulted into an increase in the distribution by 63.5 billion naira in this month compared to previous month. The excess crude account balance as at 26th of June, that is yesterday, is $63.005 million.
The summary of the distribution to the 3 tiers of government, both the statutory and value tax, federal government received 284.163 billion naira, state allocations stood at 187.605 billion naira, while local government councils 140.997 billion naira.
What we are taking home is significantly higher than what we took last month.
Even though the overall figures went up slightly, the various items that made up the figures for my state actually dropped.
Revenue from oil royalty and companies' income tax improved tremendously, while petroleum profit tax decreased significantly. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
The present administration's drive to remove 100 million people out of poverty in the next 10 years has begun, with the National Directorate of Employment, NDE, disbursing microloans to 560 widows of police in collaboration with the Nigerian police force. Abdullahi Musa Suleja reports that 5,000 widows of police are targeted nationwide.
Head of a family or breadwinner is dead. Life tends to become unbearable to family members left behind. The police is one agency that loses its personnel due to the nature of their job. Consequently, the force is left with many widows and orphans. Now, the National Director of Employment is coming to the rescue of such widows of police who lost their lives in line of duty. These women are the first to benefit from the support by NDE in collaboration with the police. Representative of the IG, Deputy Inspector General of Police Usman Abubakar Tilli, and the Power President Hajja Fatima Muhammad Adamu handed 10,000 naira each to 63 of them from the FCT, an event that simultaneously took place across the state of the Federation, where a total of 5,600 police widows were selected.
In addition to that, even in our training programs, whatever we're doing in the state, we gave at least 50 slots to Nigerian police force so that they can bring in either wives of the fallen heroes or some of their retirees or even serving with their families so that we can train them on various trades and resettle them.
The benefiting widows are expected to pay the 10,000 naira revival loan in 4 months. Abdullahi Musa Suleja, NTA News.
Do stay with us as we take another short break.